In this video, we're going to be painting a watercolor flower. I'm going to choose a Cosmo just because it's a very simple flower. So I'm going to be using my Floral Artist Studio paintbrushes today. I'll leave a link in the description down below if you want to check them out. And I'll also be using my Floral Artist Studio canvas as well today. It's a lovely brush pack with tons of brushes that are made specifically for flower painting, as well as a bunch of stamps that you can go ahead and just instantly make your flowers if you don't want to feel like drawing them. Today I'm going to draw though. I'll just do a quick sketch. A lot of people like to start just with painting. I always like a little sketch first. I just kind of like to map out where I'm going. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm just going to use my simple sketcher and just a brown color, whatever you wish. So first off, I'm just going to start with sort of a rough oval, something like this. And I'm going to sort of figure out where the center of my flower is. I'm not going to go right, so we're just looking straight on it. I'm going to have it slightly on an angle. And then I'm going to start to sort of map out where my petals are going. Kind of like spokes on a wheel. Just sort of making them scoop out a little bit. Something like that. And this one's going to be foreshortened because it's coming up towards us. And we can work on that. Okay, so now I have a few. Then my stem would be kind of going like that. So first I'm going to work on kind of the most unusual petal that I'm going to have here. It's actually going to be coming up, like I said, foreshortened. Sort of this here. Let me just make this a little bit bigger so you can see a bit more. Just make it really wiggly. So this is the underside of the petal. So maybe like something like that. So the other part will be coming into the center there. So that's the opposite side of the petal. Just make a really sort of unusual shape. And that works for that one. Now let's go here. And this petal, maybe we'll see sort of that return side of it. And a scoop. Something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like this is the underside, the reverse side of that petal. Okay, so maybe a wiggly line here and a little wiggle there. I said these are simple. Actually, it's simple that they're just petals. They're not sort of like a rose or a peony that has multiple petals all in. They're just all splayed out with the center showing. But you can have fun with this and kind of make it as complex as you want or as simple if you just want to, you know, be drawing them more simply like just like this, like a petal, right? You can do whatever you like. A little curve makes it just look a little bit more natural, I think. Just having that come there. Up and just sort of like a little bit, kind of like fabric, I always think. So here, you know, you can have it. That's when you make these little wiggles. It makes for some interesting sort of situations where you can make that look really curvy. All right, so this one, again, we'll have maybe scooping like this and we'll sort of see, let's see that kind of, that return side here. Just do a curve that. I'm just shading it in so you kind of know what I mean. That's the underside of this petal flipping over. And up and over here. And just having that one more simple. Okay, so here I'm not going to do too much as far as my drawing. I'm just going to note that it's going to be bumpy. And we kind of got that. All right, and I can have this sort of maybe a little bit, kind of have these little sticky bits here. Maybe like that. Okay, lovely. All right, so now that we have our sketch ready, we can just tap on it. Actually, I'm just gonna move it to the centers because that's sort of bugging me. And then I'm just gonna tap on the end and turn that opacity down. Way down. All right, So now we can paint below. I'm just going to create a new layer and drag that below. So for this, I'm going to create a nice fill layer. So I'm going to go and just get any color. It doesn't matter what color it is at this point. I'm just going to get a solid fill layer so we can do some clipping masks. Okay, so I'm going to just select my filler. So it's going to be more of a solid brush, not so watercolory. And then we can just start to fill in. Just trace around, make sure it's one continuous line. You can pick up your brush, just make sure that they connect. Okay, I'll just drag that in. Make sure my threshold is nice and high, not all the way up, otherwise we'll overfill. So that's good. Okay, great. I'm just gonna go to white and I'm gonna just change that to white. I know it looks like nothing now, but you do know that it's solid here. So we're gonna paint on top of that. So we just know that that's solid, and then I can just use a clipping mask to contain all of my paint within that shape. Okay, so I can go ahead and create a new layer on top. I'm just gonna color in the middle part here. You can just use whatever color. I'll just make it yellow. It will be yellow eventually. And I'm just gonna make it a little bit bumpy, kind of like that. And I can just fill that in or color it in, whatever you want. Can you add a few little extra bumps? Okay, that's fine. And we can leave it like that. And then I can go and just create a new layer. I'm gonna bring it below just because this will be the stem, and we can get some sort of a green color here and just fill this in just really simply. We want them more pointy. Okay, perfect. So now we just have a really simple, like filled in, and we can go ahead and use clipping masks. Okay, let's go to our flower layer here. We won't see anything when I turn it on and off, but you'll notice that obviously when I turn off the background, you'll see that it's there. Okay, so I can create a new layer on top. Just tap on the plus sign, then tap on the layer, and this will come up, and you just select clipping mask. Now you'll notice that it works because there's an arrow that points down to the layer below. So that means it's going to, everything that we paint in this layer will be contained to this shape that we created, this solid fill. All right, so let's go get some colors. I'm gonna use a nice vibrant pink because that's what these particular flowers often come like, quite vivid and bright. All right, so I'm gonna go and get the variegated edge. It's a watercolor brush. And I'm gonna go around, so you see, I can just do this without going out. So I don't have to meticulously follow around. Of course I can if I want, but for this, I can just go and paint like this, and I'm just gonna be really messy about it. Just going around the edges. All right, so of every petal, just filling that in like so. I still want to have this so we can tell the difference between each petal, so I can just follow that line there. I want to just leave a little gap there. All right, so this one here, because it's the underside, we're gonna come just follow those lines that we drew. So you can outline it like that if you want, and then come in and just sort of wiggle it like that. That's probably good enough. And we'll be having that in there. Just sort of creating this pattern. Okay, and then last one, something like that. Okay, so that's looking good. Our next step we can do is sort of some lines here, all following the direction of the petal. Just keep them soft. I know you're thinking this looks kind of ridiculous, and yes, you're right. But it'll come together. All right, from here, I'm actually going to do from the bottom, kind of like that. You see how that's curving around? Like that. So that will create that shape that we're going for. And then again, these lines can come like this. Don't have to be too particular at this point. Okay, so now that we have that, we are ready to go. Now I have a lovely blending brush here, which acts, see, it doesn't give any paint, but it blends. I'm going to use that, but if you don't have these brushes, you can always use your smudge tool. So pick a soft brush or something like that, that will work similarly. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that I have my soft blender brush, and all I'm going to do is just these lines like this. My brush is at, let's have it at about 20, 22. And I'm just going to pull this paint down. And I'm going to blend these lines out. And it just gives this effect of, well, watercolor, and also mimicking what this flower actually looks like. You can change the brush size maybe for a little bit smaller. I'm down to about 9 or 10. That might be a little bit too difficult. Maybe bring it up a little bit more just to get some movement. And then we can keep going around, all the way around. Might do this a couple of times just because I want some more vibrant areas in some cases. So I'm just gonna blend, 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 blend. You just want that line look in here too. All right, and this we're gonna go down. Lovely, okay, and you can scrub a bit, but I still want it to go always in like that direction. I want the paint to be moving this way. Lovely. All right, maybe a bit bigger, back to 30. I've got to experiment with it a little bit. Let's see what size is right. Okay. Lovely. So I can go back to my, let's go to the diluted painter. It's going to be a little bit lighter. And this one I can, with this brush, I can put on paint, and then as I move, see how it lightens up? And I can just bring in more paint on the edge by tapping, and then I'm just bringing these diluted lines down. And that's just creating more dimension. So it's a really easy motion to do, like as far as your, hand. So I'm just following the lines. Following sort of the direction of the petals. Oops, making little dots. Okay. I just noticed we probably need some in here too. All right, so that's looking nice. And then I can go still with this color, or actually I'm going to change the color. Back to, you know what, let's do the dark bloomer. And we just make this color a little bit more saturated and just go along and dust the edges. Maybe my brush will be about a 12, 13, something like that. I really just want to add a little bit more vibrancy to just the tips. You can see how that's just coming up there. This is why clipping masks are so lovely. You can just do this really easily. A little bit harder when we're in here, of course. I'm just changing my brush size to see if I can't just sneak in here a little bit. All right, back to being a little bit bigger. It's getting these lovely little edges. Okay, that just adds a little bit more. Let's give a little bit of a love to the center here. So I'm just going to go to that layer. And on top, I'm going to create a clipping mask. So tap on it, clipping mask. I'm just going to select this color so it pops up here. And then I can kind of tweak it a little bit. I'm going to make it a little bit more orange, a little bit darker, so we can create a little bit of depth. I can still stay on the dark bloomer. We'll just give it a little bit of darker color here. And I might even go a little step further, so down and to the right to get a nice darker color. There we go. That might be nice. Then I'm going to create a new layer, tap on it, make it a clipping mask. I'm going to get this simple stamen, get a lighter color. Let's just see, maybe even lighter. Just has a bit more texture to it. And let's see, maybe even a little bit more yellowy, something like that. Okay. Just gonna turn off my sketch. We don't really need it anymore. Let's see how that's looking. I'm just gonna create a new layer just because I'm kind of experimenting with things. I want these little bits in here, so a little bit more definition. So I'm gonna go grab a brown color. So just move your slider to somewhere in the oranges and you can find a nice brown in there. Then with this simple sketcher, I'm just gonna do some of these little bits here in the stamen area and that this particular flower can have. They're always gonna run on the outside of this one. So I'm just going to add that little detail. And then with another that bright yellow, maybe even more saturated, just give it a little top. It's starting not to be able to show there. It's almost the same color. We might even have to go quite a bit lighter here so that pops out. And we can do a few more dots just to create a little bit of texture. That's probably good enough for that. Now I'm going to go on a layer here. I'm going to create, this actually doesn't need to be a clipping mask because we're going to be right in the center, but just to be organized, we know that it's all together here. I'm going to do that. I'm going to just select this color and then make it really quite dark. And I'll get that variegated edge. I'm just going to give a nice shadow here, because right now it looks like it's floating, so you kind of want it to sit. So there's going to be a little bit, actually, you know what? I'm going to use the diluted painter because then I can blend this out a little bit. See how that works? Okay, so we want just a little bit of shadow in here so that works a bit better. I'm just like tapping in paint and then blending it out. Just trying to be mindful of this area here. Giving that, just will set it down more into the flower than kind of looks like it's floating on top. Good, that looks good. Same with here. Let's give a little shadow here where that turned over. You just sort of line that and then blend it out so you can see that. Same with here. See, I've kind of lost it, so I'm going to just turn this back on again so I can see where I wanted that. I can turn it off and see how I'm doing and just blend that out. That's nice. Maybe here I can kind of show that a little bit. Maybe even with this edge. Just sort of sharpen up a few things that you think it may have missed a little bit. I'm just going to do a few more tweaks with this. So I still have my pink here, or I can just select it. I'm just going to grab that. And I'm actually going to change back to the variegated edge and just sharpen up a few lines. I can still blend with this one. It's just a little bit of a more crisp edge than the diluted one. But it's what I want, but still sort of blend it out a little bit. So just see how now we can tell which petal is going in front there. And same with here. Just defining things a little bit more makes it look a little bit more professional, and just those little, everyone's always asking, what are the little extra things that make it go from nice to wow? That's really cool. It's honestly just time. Just adding those extra few minutes sometimes really makes a lot. I'm just looking to see where you can just push things a little bit further. Just see how that makes a difference. So not everything has to be all soft and blended. You do want sort of that balance of some things are going to be, you want a little bit crisper, and other things are a little bit softer. Okay, let's have a look. So I'm just going to show you that here. See the difference with that? It's not much, but it makes a big difference. See, that looks like it's fine, but that looks a lot better. Okay, so let's just finish up with our little stem here. So I'm going to go select my stem layer, create a new layer on top, and make that a clipping mask. Just going to select this green. Let's just go and get down and to the right to get a nice darker color. Let's do the varied bloomer. It's just a nice soft brush. Just going to give a little shadow under here, shadow here, just sort of scrubbing the edges, making my brush a little bit smaller for tighter areas. Okay, something like that. Then I can create a new layer, tap on it, make it a clipping mask. Go back to my green. Actually, I'm going to just select this again. Go up and just, I want it a little bit brighter, so just up there, nice and saturated. I still don't think that's enough. Let's just make it a little bit more yellow. So I'm going to drag to the yellow side, still keeping it green. I think that's better. I just wanted it a little bit cheerier, not too minty. Put a few bits on there. Let's see, just so it has a little bit of variation. Then I'm going to sharpen it up a little bit. I'm using a lot of layers. You could do this all in one layer if you wanted, but I'm just having fun with layers as usual. All right, we can go ahead to the variegated edge, and maybe we're just going to sharpen a few things up, like maybe we do, you know, have a little bit of a few veins here, just sort of just giving it a little bit more than just plain. See, then it actually balances better with the flower because we've had more detail on it. You kind of want this to be the same in this instance. Just have a little bit little bit of something happening. So just subtly, it's not overboard. And then maybe we just have a little bit of dark down here as well. It's a bit of an edge. I'm just gonna blend that a little bit, so soft blender, or you can just use your smudge tool as well. Okay, and there we have it. A few little tricks in order to make a lovely watercolor flower. You can apply this to many different types of flowers. It works particularly well with flowers that the petals are open like this. Of course, it can work with many of them, but just you have the most impact, I think, with seeing it like this. So hopefully that was useful and you enjoyed it. And if you want to know more about the Floral Artist Studio, I'll have that in the link below where to find all these brushes. Also, if you haven't already, subscribe. That means so much to me. It'll help me bring more videos to you and hopefully help you on your artistic journey. So love you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.